All right, I think the most commonly asked question is how do I solo better? And I think if you look in all the books or magazines, there seems to be so much information that it's like overwhelming, and they talk about modes and everything else. But we're going to try to simplify things. As you already know, finding every note on the guitar is easy. And if the key that we're in is in B minor, then we know that connecting our single octave pentatonics into visualization 1 and 2 is fairly simple after you do all the work and you write it down and you practice it. But then there's kind of like a gap in between those things. It's called, how do I actually use it now? It's like, now I know it, I've written it down, I get it, I can transpose it, but I still sound like I'm just practicing playing scales, which is usually maybe the biggest complaint of everybody that's ever practiced, is that they always feel like they're just playing. Right. They're not making music. So the best thing to do is to start off with the single octave patterns and kind of go back to that, where you're only doing one octave at a time, as you know. So the one that you're already familiar with is what I would call the top octave of visualization 2 in B minor, where the second finger starts the scale because of the logistics of the work refraction principle here, and you would just go 2, 1, 3, slide up to the flat third, back to the root. So all of these notes have a name relative to the root, not B, C, and D flat or anything like that, but the root, flat third, perfect fourth, fifth, flat 7, root, and then flat third, and then back. So we take that in small portions. The blues note is the flat 5, in between, of course, the fourth and the fifth. All right, so now, with all that said, we're now going to transpose it, and this is where it's real important for you. If we take that same idea, but we kind of start at a string set lower, or one string set lower, these 3 strings instead of these 3 strings, we start with the B at the 4th string, at the 9th fret, and this is now the root, but it's the 3rd finger, as you can see. And this, in fact, is the top half of visualization number 1 in B minor. But again, by focusing only on one octave, we have digestible portions, right? And that's really what it's about. So we start with the root, then we go flat 3rd, then we go perfect 4th, 5th, flat 7, root. When we come back down, we go root, flat 7, 5th. We can hit the flat 5 in between, 4, flat 3, and 1. This scale, I usually add a note or two, which is basically the flat 3rd again, up on top, and the 4th up to the 5th, which will then, of course, include the flat 5 also. Now, the problem with this scale is that the work refraction principle actually occurs between the 5th and the flat 7, as opposed to the root and the flat 3rd. This is important for one reason. When you start the scale, it's nice to go to the flat 3rd. You've already done the shift in the top half of visualization 2. But in the top octave, or top half of visualization 1, that occurs in a different spot in the scale. So it's going to be used completely different. So what I do is, from watching all the best players, I notice they never seem to have a problem in this area, and this would be the problem. You go. And when you got here, you'd have to then push the second finger out of the way, put the first finger here, play this way. And then when you came back down, you'd go root, flat 7, 5th. You'd have to then do the same motion here, where you'd have to push that second finger out of the way. And it's just awkward, and nobody seems to ever get it right. But yet when I watch all my favorite players, I don't see it. It's not a problem. Why is that? Because of the fingering shift. The fingering shift is probably the most important thing you'll learn about this single octave scale than all the other ones combined, because it's where you're going to want to be the most, but yet it's the hardest area to negotiate. But with one secret, it's all possible and very simple. Whenever I play this scale, I play the root, the flat 3rd, the perfect 4th. I can slide up to the 5th. I can slide up to the blues note, the flat 5. I can bend up to the 5th. I can even go up and hit the flat 7 with my second finger. But we don't want to then go pinky onto the root, and then we're stuck in like a cage pattern, which is very awkward to make music with. So you can go up as far as here, but the fingering shift, which I'll show you right now, is root, flat third, perfect fourth. The second finger almost plays the wrong note right here. But because of a go slide is when you pick a note, you don't hear the note from which you're sliding. Right? You didn't hear this. And that would be wrong. That note wouldn't sound right. But in the beginning, I tell people, just do this first. Right? And they go, oh, that sounds terrible. I know, but sometimes you have to do it wrong to get it right. So I would say do that a few times, because what we're trying not to do is this. We don't want to create this movement because that negates the whole reason why we're doing it. Keeping your hand in position, making things simple, keeping things simple. So if you go root, flat third, perfect fourth, you now go to this note, which would be the major third. But because we're go sliding, we never hear that major note, thank God. And we slide up to the fifth, and then we're on our flat seven and our root. Now when I come back down, regardless of where I go, as I come back down, I have the same problem. But I would go flat, I'd go root, flat seven, second finger on the fifth, third finger to play this note now, which is wrong. So you have it. Right? So instead of doing that, after you do that a few times, I should say, you're then going to go. So it's a go slide. We never hear this wrong note, but we never negotiate for it. Right? There's no point in doing this, pushing this one out of the way, or doing this. There's no point in doing that. So you just go from the wrong note to keep that zone defense. It actually, the shift itself sounds like a lick, so it makes music from the second you start doing it, which is key, because in this area, this will be the biggest problem, okay? And this area is the most important because it's our favorite head pattern right inside of it. So now if you went root, flat third, perfect fourth, second finger slide up to the fifth, flat seven, root, and then we came back down, root, flat seven, fifth, and then from this note, the sixth, which in this case, the flat sixth, would then slide down to the perfect fourth and back. Now, like I said, you could stay in this area and never leave it. And we want to do stuff like that because that's what matters. Those are licks. Now, if I want to get out of that area, I'm not going to walk over the finger. I'm going to go. Now, in this area, I don't have to go up. You know, in other words, the scale doesn't have to go. That's an exercise. But the licks are going to be. And if you do it like that, and you negotiate that shift after some practice, then every lick I'm now going to give you will be easy. So after you practice that a good long time, and you really see the difference between this and this, which are identically the same note-wise, and it's just that where this warped refraction principle comes in between the G and the B strings, that being a third instead of all fourths, is in a different spot within the pattern relative to the tonic, or the B. And that's why we need this. The other one has already been negotiated. That's why I start with that one. But the next level is this one. And that's what we want to do. Now, the next factor is, of course, what we want to do is now maybe take out your guitar, too. Try not to hit the camera. Nice. the idea here is there's kind of two concepts. There's the what to play and the how to play, and those two concepts, you know, are pretty different, because practicing scales then sounds like scales, but how you play it is becomes almost more important than what you play. But let's talk about what you play first. We talked about what the scale degrees were called throughout these areas. We have the root, flat third, perfect fourth, fifth, flat five, flat seven, root. That would then just continue again as if we had 8 more strings. Would go root, flat third, fourth, fifth, flat five, and then if we could go higher, we'd have the flat seven of the root, the minor third, or it would be on the next string higher. That's just the logic of the guitar, which we love because it's very logical. So now, the question is, well, how do you make everything sound good? All right, you're plugged in, right?
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's play through this pattern and work on the shift itself first. Good, so play this root. Good, then go flat third. Good, then the fourth. Good. Now we're going to slide up to the fifth with the third finger. Yep, half step lower, you're right. Good. And then right here, this is where we'd have to do that walkover, right? Mm-hmm. So since we slid up with this, we won't even go any higher. We'll just come back down with the blues note. 3, 2, 1, and then with the first finger all the way down. Yep, one whole step. And then back to the root. Right, but if we wanted to do the shift, we're going to now go like this. 3, 1, 3, second finger. But now remember, level 1, it's real tempting, because if the camera was on you, this finger started wanting to go like this. We just want to play the long note. Right, but on the third string. Nice harmony though. Right, so now we're going to go do that again. Close. Start with the root though. From this note, you're just going to slide it up to that 11th fret. Good, and then, right, now you're home for your next string. Right, now when you go backwards, it's 3, 1, 2. Now you're going to go wrong note. Good, do that again. 3. Right, now from this note, which is the flat 6, we're just going to pick it and slide it back down to the 4th. So your exercise at first will look exactly like this. And I suggest doing this a few times in a few different keys just to get a handle on it. Then go level 2. Right, so now let's try level 1 first. You're going to go 3. 1, 3, 2. Now we're just going to pick that note again and slide it up to the 11th fret. And then go 1, 3. Right, but you already did the shift, right? Because if you already go to there, you're already ready for it. Now it just goes first finger. No. So you're already in position for it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. Make it easy for us. We're already there. We've already kind of preemptively refingered that next part. So then 1, then 3. Now backwards, 3, 1, 2, then 3. And kind of hang on that note. Know that it's wrong, know that it's not up and on the third string. Good, now slide it down. So level 1 again will be this. Level 2, we just skip the wrong note, and as we pick it, we just go right through it. So it's going to be 3, we'll go a little slower. Now, you can put this finger on, doesn't matter. It's not going to make the noise, right? Until you pick it, but you're going to just slide it. Yep, exactly. And then 3, 1, 2, and then third finger. And you want to be very careful not to do this. Right. In other words, it just defeats the purpose of why we're doing the shift. If every finger gets a fret comfortably, then we always want to be in that position. Okay, so now, as we go through this, now the next stage in the